All right, what is going on, Teach Better family? It is Thursday night. It's slightly earlier than normal, but it's still Thursday night, which means it was chat night, Teach Better chat night. Tonight was the first night where we switched the format up, and honestly, can't really think of anybody better than Kevin Butler to help us get through the official change tonight. So we got Kevin here. Kevin, great to see you, brother. It's much sunnier where you are than it is where I am because it's a few hours back. So awesome to have you here. We're going to chat about how the chat was, how you felt about the questions, get your thoughts. I'm going to make you answer a few of the questions live with us right now. If you're here with us, drop in the comments. Let us know where you're at. Were you in the chat? Tell us how awesome Kevin is and how awesome the chat was. We'll be back in about 60 seconds. Kevin, my man, so awesome to have you leading us tonight. How are you feeling right now, brother?
Great. It's almost Friday. It's been a long
Almost Friday. It's a little closer to Friday here for us than it is for you, though. So, like,
I haven't had dinner yet.
you know what? I had some during the chat. I was snacking on some kind, healthy grain because I've had meetings all the way up to the chat, so I really haven't either. So I'm with you. I feel you. Like it's a little bit angry. My belly's like, come on, buddy, it's dinner. So Mel dropped in. This wasn't your first time leading us in chat, was it? It was.
Yes.
How was it this long for you to lead us chat? That's crazy.
I know, and I remember being at Teach Better 2 years ago, and I didn't even use Twitter at the time. And I remember Becky.
Oh, you were just Instagram, huh?
Yeah, Becky was on it. I'm like, what? I don't know how to do that. And she's like, oh, one day you'll be on it, and here I am.
Did you get on during the conference, or was it like did it take a while after before you finally got on the Twitter?
Adam Welcome literally set up a Twitter account for me when we were at dinner.
That sounds about right. So that's crazy. Yeah, I didn't think about that because like Instagram's like where you're normally at. That's like your spot. And if you're not following Kevin on Instagram, it's the same handle, right? Yes. So you can follow him on Instagram. Always awesome stuff there. So that's interesting. So then we finally got you to host. I love it. I mean, you're live with us all the time. You're always doing stuff with us. So hey, we gotta save some stuff, right? So Mel's in the house. Marie's in the house. Excuse me. Livia's in the house. Bree, I don't know that it's everyone's favorite song here, but I'm glad that it is in your house. Debbie, good to see you. Today's Debbie's birthday. Happy birthday. Lindsay's in the house. Yes, Mel, I got a whole bunch of hairs cut. Here's a dad joke for you. Becky's in the house. Oh, who else is here? That was great questions. That was from Bree. I'm just going through because we got all kinds of comments now, Kevin, because you just had an awesome chat. So let's do this really quick because I think everybody knows who you are, but some people watch and don't necessarily weren't in the Twitter chat or aren't on IG, don't follow you and stuff like that. Maybe never met you. Can you give us the quick who is the Kevin J. Butler?
Sure.
If in case they don't watch the Kelly Clarkson show, just in case. Just saying.
Yesterday was my year anniversary.
I know. I saw it. It was a year since you were on Kelly Clarkson. That's crazy.
I'm going on that vacation in a month. So.
Oh, are you really?
Yeah. So it is my 18th year of teaching. My first 12 years were in New York, out on Long Island, in public school, teaching 5th grade. A few years ago, I had a unique opportunity to come out here to Los Angeles, where I am right now, to help a startup school, and I was only going to be here for a year to consult, and I was going back to my job in New York. That extended to 2 years, which extended to me liking to be at the beach in February and not shoveling snow. I decided to stay here in LA. I did not stay at the startup school, it wasn't for me, but I'm going into my 6th year at an independent school. And not only do I teach 5th grade full time, I'm also the director of K through 6 curriculum and instruction.
Gotcha. So, um, we got Mel saying startup school. I'm not sure what the face means, but when you say startup school, like you help them start at a brand new school,
Yeah, it was
is
a
that?
brand new school. So
Yeah.
yeah, it was. They already had a K through 4 program, but they were doing
Okay.
5 through 8. Um,
Gotcha. So you help build the 5 through 8 then.
yeah,
Gotcha.
it's a
Okay.
good experience, but wasn't for
Just totally get it. Yes, apparently New York wasn't for you either, and you just never came home. So, which you're outside right now, right? Are you outside? You're sitting outside right now with beautiful weather.
me.
Actually, we had great weather here in Ohio today.
Oh,
Like it was 80. It was 80. It was upper 80s. I think we got up to
oh, it
like
wasn't. It was
88,
about
89 today.
75 here.
See, well, look at that. Like, where you at? Come on. Practically snowing there compared now. So awesome. So let's talk about tonight's chat. So tonight's chat, I want to make sure I read the actual title properly. It's student engagement in classroom culture, which like basically sums up you.
That's me.
I love it. So I always love to dive into like, okay, so when you were planning this and you're like, okay, here's the topic I'm going with, here's the questions I'm putting together. What was going through your head in the sense of what were you hoping to either for yourself pull out of the chat or for people participating in the chat to walk away with? Second part of the question is, do you feel like that happened?
Yeah, definitely. I think the idea was the big umbrella was it's about the students, it's about the kids.
Yeah.
And if you're not in it for the kids, then you're in this profession for the wrong reason. Um, and yeah, I think we got awesome ideas. I took notes as again, it was like my first time doing this Twitter thing, so I'm like checking and writing things down. But I think definitely we were all like on the same page. There were a lot of repeat ideas and things like that. So that was
Yeah. So you were like legit taking notes.
oh yeah, like
Can you all right, let's break it down. Can you share some of your notes? That's awesome. I love it. Well, no, like that. Like read through some of the notes. So what were the big the takeaways that you said? Hey, I got to write this down. Like,
yeah,
that's
so
awesome.
like trust was a big thing for the first. Well, I'll start with the first question. So like building trust. A lot of people were saying follow through is important. I think it was Jessica who wrote like knowing how. And this is like a big pet peeve of mine. So Jessica, I'm there with you, saying knowing how to pronounce your students' names. And I extend that even into books that we read. If sometimes a kid will just like stumble over the word, say, "Oh, I don't know how to say," or "I'm going to say it like that." Like it's such a pet peeve that we know how to say people's names and that people's names. And, so that was something that I really found. Connecting, finding their interests, admitting when you were wrong, like showing them that you're a real person. That idea of honesty, like this happened to me today. At the end of the day, we have about, we're back full person. So at the end of the day, we have about 10 minutes as kids slowly go to carpool. And we were talking about the Bill of Rights today, and that got off to a tangent. And somebody, I don't know how we got to the point, but someone said like, "Oh, have you ever said naughty words?" They asked me like, "Have you ever said a naughty word?" And I said, "Well, what do you mean?" And the kid was like, "Oh, I can't imagine Mr. Butler ever saying like the F word." And I was like, you know what? No, I've said it before. I said I don't really talk like that, but I would be lying to you if I said I never said that word before. Like you asked me that question, you're going to get the truth. I said I don't think we should be saying that word, but yeah, I've said it. So it's things like that I think they truly do appreciate. That they can ask those questions and for the most part get honest responses.
Yeah, and I think one of the things that I saw a whole bunch of, and you touched on, is the idea of admitting when you're wrong. Let them know that, like, yeah, I make mistakes. I'm not going to be this perfect picture like teacher. Like, I'm going to mess up, and when I do, I'm going to tell you, and we're going to work through it together. Like the power in that for them to say, like, oh, Mr. Butler's like real, like, you know what I mean? Like that's a big thing, and I think I think once you do that, you can have a sense of relief of like, oh, like I don't have to portray this fictional, unrealistic character up here. I can just be me and care about these kids and help them learn and grow. So I love it. What were some of the other notes you grabbed? Do you have
let's see. Question number 2 had to do with leadership, whether it was just.
I'm going to make you go through every question now because I feel like you did all the questions on your notes. So This is
Am I?
awesome.
Is this okay? Okay.
I love it.
Um,
Yes. Yeah. I'm eating it up. This is good.
um, Mel said something about giving different roles to her students, which I thought were really cool. A lot of people wrote like mentoring programs. I think that was
Mm-hmm.
Jenny's for a podcast, a mentoring program. Somebody did greeters. I also have greeters in our classroom too. So if somebody comes into the classroom, there are roles that you should greet somebody. Even though everybody and anyone can do that, there is a specific role as a greeter. At our all school assemblies too, we have a student council at our school, um, and it's for the upper grades, and they are the people who present the information to the audience. Like it's not teachers always up there. It's mostly run by kids, and kids, develop the agenda and what it's going to look like. So
Yeah.
that's really important. It's all about that ownership, and whether it can happen in the whole school is great. But sometimes if it's not happening in the school, you could always bring it back into your own room.
Yeah. Um. So okay, then question 3. Well, so question 3 was on what's
Classroom
question 3 about?
culture.
Yep. Yep.
That's a big one for me.
Culture and SEL.
Yeah. Let's see. Patrick was saying about student conferences. I love that. That's something I'm trying to do more of, just touching base. I did it a lot over Zoom, believe it or not, because it was so easy that way, because we were able to schedule meetings. In the classroom, it's a little harder because they're all physically there. But I love that idea. Doing the rules or your classroom constitution together, I thought was really cool as well.
Nice.
And not just rules, but like what I do too is we list the expectations and we revisit it because the expectations in September are not the same as they are in January, and they're certainly not what they should be now. We actually just updated ours last week. The whole idea of somebody else mentioned like just having mutual respect, teaching respect. What does that look like? I do a lesson. The difference between a leader and a boss. Like those are two totally different things. And we give examples on what leaders do and what bosses do, and who we want to be like. That idea of viewpoints and perspectives, really being able to look at things through multiple lenses. Someone was talking about, respect, being able to have mutual respect. Well, the way you have mutual respect is you can kind of put yourself into someone else's, shoes.
Yeah, you show that empathy so you can understand where they're coming from. Yeah, absolutely. All right, so I gotta ask you because I'm curious because I enjoy this conversation of leader versus boss. How do you frame that? What's the easiest way to explain the difference for you?
A boss tells people what to do. A leader shows people how to do something.
What I've always said is that people follow a boss because they're afraid to lose their job. They follow a leader because they're afraid to lose their respect. Two different theirs. Like
I'm taking more notes.
I bet when I have a background. I worked in the hospitality industry and food industry, and I used to always tell them, like when I was training future managers and stuff, I would explain that to them. Like, look, like everyone's going to listen to you because you're the boss, but they're going to follow you because not because they're afraid you're going to fire them, because they're afraid they're going to let you down, and they don't want to let you down because they respect you and they want to follow you. That to me is the biggest difference. So anyway, that was cool. I like that. I love you. When you do your constitution, do you call it a constitution in your classroom? Is that what it is?
Every classroom has their own.
Okay, gotcha. Now, do you tie that into like a lesson on and talking through like what our Constitution of the United States is and that type of thing, or
try to all do it on Constitution Day, which is I think the 17th of September. So
gotcha, cool.
Yeah.
Interesting.
We publish it. They have like to stretch it out. We give them like a week to write their own, and then we come together. We narrow it down, and then usually on the 17th is the day we like sign.
So do you have like a Bill of Rights in your class? Or
not
quite to that.
Like this year, there's like it looks very different because there's so many from the Zoom world that now that more. So we had to add a little bit onto it, but yeah, it's just a list. It's basically like a Bill of Rights. Yeah.
Gotcha. That's cool. All right. So question 4 was, what does student engagement look like in your classroom and/or school? What'd you pull from that one?
I didn't pull many because we were at the very end, and I had to try to get out.
You can let Jeff wait. That's always okay. You can always let Jeff wait.
But I did see having conversations with your kids and having them actively engaged in their learning. The conversations are really important.
If you had to pick, what was the biggest, not necessarily a very specific takeaway, but what was the theme or biggest thing that you grabbed from as a participant in this chat tonight?
Yeah, just looking at my handy dandy notes, I think the idea of communicating, like communicating is over and over and over again. So being able
Yeah,
to like really be, communicative with your students.
gotcha. Okay, so now I'm going to throw maybe one or two of your questions at you and have you give us your answer live, and then so expand on it if you don't mind. So let's see which one I want to throw at you. I'm gonna go one because I always enjoy you sharing this type of stuff. But what are some of the ways that educators can build relationships, bonds, and trust with their students? That was one you mentioned. Like trust was mentioned a lot. Like you as Kevin Butler, the educator, what are the ways that you answer that question that you shared out and that you try to do those things in your classroom in your school?
I think about this a lot because, like, I think teaching is the easy part. I think a lot of people are able to take content and deliver it. But
Sure.
how do you take content and deliver it and have kids enjoy it? And I think it's
Mm.
all about knowing your kids. So, like the very first day of school, I take an inventory, and it's just a list of questions. I mean, this is super basic, it's nothing innovative, but of just very specific questions like, who do you live with? Um, Siblings, what grades are they in? What are their names? If they're at our school, who's their teacher? What are your interests? What do you like to do? Do you play sports? Do you play an instrument? Are you an artist? And I keep them. I go home that first night and I look them over. One of the questions in there also is like, what makes a good teacher? What, in your opinion, what makes a good teacher? Just,
I like that.
again, getting to know them right away um, is like my first thing, and then taking that data because here you've collected, 20 something, interest inventories, and then trying to sprinkle those things into your lessons. So this year, I just had a class that was obsessed with Minecraft. So I like created this whole grammar craft lesson and they loved it. Like they didn't love it because we were learning the parts of speech. They loved it because there were some, Minecraft decorations in the room and there was Minecraft music playing in the background and it was nothing elaborate, but
Mm-hmm.
they just knowing that Mr. Butler like knows what Minecraft is and connected it to grammar. Um,
Yeah, yeah.
so it's little things like that. They're begging me to play Fortnite, but I'm like, that's not appropriate.
Yeah, that's one in our house too. So when in your Minecraft that lesson, that experience, did you incorporate like the mining part? Were they mining like using the words and putting them together
So
and stuff like that? Or
we were
I'm
just
interested. I'm really interested to know how you connected that.
yeah, we
That's
were
cool.
just wrapping up the parts of speech. So
Okay.
um, we were. What I did was I wrote up a whole bunch of different words, but like all the nouns were on paper cardstock. All of the verbs were on purple. So every part of speech was color coded to a different piece of
Okay.
paper, and they had to literally like cut out the words and build sentences. So rather than like building this land of
They're
Minecraft,
building this. Yeah,
we're
yeah.
building sentences using as many parts of speech as you can. So
Nice.
it took it to the
That's
next level
cool.
where they weren't just identifying, what a verb was on a worksheet. They were actually like engaged in building those things. And I wore
Yeah.
like a Minecraft sweatshirt, and I thought that was super cool. And there you go.
I was gonna ask you, did you have like a full like creeper outfit on, or my son went as a creeper for Halloween? I'm like, I totally could picture you walking in with like the big square head. That's cool. I like that. That's neat. And I think that's such a like, and I love that you emphasize the fact that like, hey, this wasn't something elaborate. Like, you didn't do a complete
Right.
room transformation. You just pulled pieces enough with the music, some decorations, and a shirt, right?
Right.
You didn't even get in the full costume, right? Which I know you've done and you do.
Right. I love it.
But you did it. So you don't have to go to that extravagant nature. It was more the fact that it was like, oh, cool. Like there's Minecraft stuff around. And like you said, it's kind of cool that Mr. Butler even knows what Minecraft is.
Right.
And so they may not have realized that the part that was cool about that was the fact that you listened to what they liked and you put some sort of effort into caring about it. And I think that's a really cool connection piece. So that's cool. I like that a lot. So let's talk about. So you talked about the greeters and stuff. So I'm going to ask you a question too. Like, what leadership opportunities do your students have in the classroom or school? So you mentioned greeters. Can you break down a little more what the greeter is? So like, if I'm the greeter in your classroom, if anybody walks into your classroom, I'm the one who's responsible for making sure they get a proper greeting. Is that
Yeah,
how what
so
that is,
I
or
have to, yeah, I have to give full credit to really some of the work that I've done in workshops at the Ron Clark Academy down in Atlanta, Georgia.
okay?
Their students are so able to
Yeah.
engage visitors, like strangers, into their school when teachers go to visit and do PD there. And Adam DeVico, who used to be there, who's a teacher and a principal and an administrator right now, he he wrote a book on, like, it's called Special, and it's how to be able, those soft skills, those essential skills. And a couple of years ago, I was able to take a few of our teachers to RCA in Atlanta, and that's like the number one thing we left with. Like, how can we take our kids and really rise them? How can we get them out of their shells? Because I say it all the time at, like, open school night, back to school night with parents is, yeah, I'm going to be teaching your kids, how to read better and, become better mathematicians and better writers. But no matter what, and we don't know what field they're going to go in. And most
Hmm.
likely there are jobs that we don't even know, or, 10 years from now, they don't exist yet. But what they're going to need to know is how to be able to communicate with people. So my little team of teachers, we came up with this idea of creating a leadership council. It's not student government, but it's really just a group of students who are selected to be these ambassadors to a school. And we go
Okay.
through the whole idea of how do you greet someone, how do you give a handshake, how do you look somebody in the eyes. When somebody asks you, how are you feeling today? You're not just going to say good. You're going to say, oh, I'm feeling, great today because it's my mom's birthday and we're taking her out to dinner tonight. How are you feeling today? Like, being able to
Hmm.
hold a conversation. So those
Yeah.
are all the things that we practice. And like I said, they eventually take ownership of we have school-wide assemblies every Friday. So they really run the show, from everything from, because parents are invited, so they stand at the doors and greet parents. They go up on stage and they present who's going to be speaking on different topics. They research different events that are, like, a national whatever day, and then we celebrate that at our school. They do a whole bunch of things.
That's cool. So your classroom, your responsibilities, your opportunities, the leadership opportunities really are focused on those those
Yeah,
those soft skills, those essential skills of communication, collaboration, and things of that nature. That's
right.
awesome. I like it. Awesome. Very cool. All right. So my last question for you is, if you could leave anyone who was in the chat with us, or maybe is just watching right now, or is going to watch this on a replay, with one sort of lasting piece of takeaway around this idea of building the culture and engagement in your classroom, what would you leave us with right now?
You've got to listen. We're teachers and we love to talk, but you've got to listen. You've got to hand over that ownership. I talked a little bit and then one of the questions about student voice. You've got to give them that voice, but just because you give them voice, you also have to listen. Um, it's a two-part thing there. So yeah, give them the voice, give them the opportunity to speak up and share and talk about themselves, but listen to what they're actually saying and take some time to, you know, let it simmer.
I love it. Great chat tonight, man. I really appreciate you leading us in the first one where we officially shifted. This is how it's going to be from here on out, where it's now a four question. Let me ask you about that. So you're the first one doing the four question. One of the things that I got excited about us shifting is, so we changed from a 60-minute to a 30-minute, and from like
Right.
six to seven questions to four. What I got excited about is 6 to 7 questions is a decent bit of questions, right? So sometimes you got a filler in there. Not saying anybody's ever done that, but sometimes with four, like, there's no filler. You got to get right to it. Did you feel any, like, I guess you've never done the 6 to 7 with us, but did you feel any sort of, like, restriction then, like, pushing your creativity, or were you like, no, I got my
Yeah.
four, I'm good to
Four
go?
is good. I think four is a good,
Four
because
is
it's
good.
half an hour too. Because I was, like, watching the time, like, how much time.
Yep.
Right.
Yeah. It's a good time. And that's why we try to break that down so that you can see how it goes and stuff. But yeah, that's what I've been excited about this shift, is that, because we shift from 60 minutes to 30 minutes, 6 to 7 questions to now four. And one thing is nice because the chat plus this recap fits into an hour now.
Right.
So instead of trying to grab 90 minutes of your time on Thursday, we're taking 60. We're going a little bit. But I really like the 4 because it's like, hey, if I got a whole bunch of questions, I got to narrow it down to my 4 most important questions that I want to ask this group and pull out of it. So I really appreciate it. I know I speak for the whole team that we were so pumped that this was the date. We didn't plan it around the moderator. We planned around a date, and then we're like, who is that again? Oh, that's good. It's Kevin. We're good. I didn't realize it was your first one. That's even better. That's awesome. So that's great. So I appreciate you doing that. Next week, we have the amazing Alexa Shepard leading us. We will continue using both hashtags, but we're officially it's fully shifted now. We're going 30 minutes with 4. Mel, I'm so glad that you love the new format. That's awesome. Appreciate that. Keep letting us know in the feedback there so we can just want to shake it up. We've been doing this for 4 years now. I think it's just over 4 years. We've never missed a Thursday ever. And this is the first change we've ever really done to it. Like
on the last 12-hour live, I remember. I think it might have been Ray talking about like Christmas, like nothing. If it falls.
Oh yeah, we've done them on 4th of July, on Christmas Eve, on Christmas Day, on New Year's Day, on Thanksgiving. Ray and I did Thanksgiving this past year. Like it was important. It's always been important for us to stay consistent, and because not everyone in our community celebrates the same holidays, gets the same holidays off. We want to always be there, so we've never missed it.
There were people from all over, that's really awesome.
Yes, that's one of my favorite things about it is we those connections all over the world. So it's great. So appreciate you leading us in the chat. Appreciate you guys jumping in. Anybody who's in the chat, anybody who's here chatting with us this way. Really appreciate you being here and hanging out with us. We'll see you next week with Alexis leading us as well. Kevin, appreciate you, brother. Make sure you guys, if you're not connected with Kevin, both on Twitter and on Instagram, make sure you get him on both. And we will see you all. We'll see you later.
Next Thursday.